Marcus Kane, a 37-year-old plumber from Redwood Springs, had never been lucky. His days revolved around clogged drains, leaky faucets, and overdue bills. But on a gray February morning, scrolling through a forgotten county auction site, his entire life changed. There it was, abandoned property. Starting bid, 25 cents. At first, Marcus laughed. 25 cents wouldn't even buy a stick of gum, let alone a 2-acre parcel in the foothills of Eaglecrest Ridge. Still, something about the listing tugged at him. The faded black and white photo showed a weathered log cabin half swallowed by towering pines, its porch sagging, windows clouded with grime, yet somehow, charming. On auction day, only 3 people showed up. Within 5 minutes, Marcus placed a single bid, a single quarter. Nobody countered. Sold, the auctioneer said, banging the gavel. Marcus walked away holding a crumpled receipt for the best deal of his life. When he first saw the cabin up close, it looked hopeless, shingles missing, beams rotting, raccoons squatting inside. But Marcus was stubborn. Every evening after work, he drove up winding mountain trails with his toolbox, sweat, and faith. He rebuilt the roof, replaced cracked foundations, and sanded cedar walls until they gleamed like honey in the sunlight. He fixed the stone fireplace, wired in new electricity, and restored the creaky wraparound porch where moss had crept for decades. By winter's arrival, the once forgotten shack had transformed into a storybook cabin, rustic on the outside, modern on the inside, and perched over a valley blanketed with mist. Marcus thought he'd finally carved out his little slice of heaven. Then the SUVs arrived. One morning, Marcus woke to the sound of drones buzzing overhead and voices outside. 4 black SUVs were parked in a neat line. Men in pressed suits held clipboards, measuring tapes, and tablets. A tall man in a navy blazer approached, flashing a polished corporate smile. "Mr. Kane." Marcus nodded cautiously. "Victor Hartman, Eaglecrest Development." "Congratulations," he said, gesturing at the property. "You're sitting on a goldmine." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" Victor explained that Eaglecrest Ridge had just been selected for a $1 billion luxury resort project backed by foreign investors. Developers were buying up land for astronomical sums. "This cabin," Victor said, tapping his tablet, was appraised last week at $10.4 million. Marcus almost dropped his coffee. A 25-cent gamble had turned into a $10 million jackpot. For a few glorious months, Marcus lived in bliss. But fate wasn't done testing him. That's when Delilah Rayner showed up, the self-appointed president of the brand new Eaglecrest Homeowners Association. She drove a pearl-white Mercedes, her sunglasses worth more than Marcus's truck. Without so much as a greeting, she handed him a thick envelope. "You're in violation," she declared. Marcus blinked. "Violation of what?" "Section 12, Article 4, she said smoothly. "Unauthorized renovations, noncompliance with community guidelines, improper structural modifications. This residence is illegal under HOA governance." Marcus frowned. "HOA? This property isn't part of any HOA." Delilah smirked. "It is now. Eaglecrest homeowners voted to establish one last month. As president, I'm requiring you to surrender your deed until compliance can be reviewed." Marcus laughed in disbelief. "Lady, I bought this place before your HOA even existed." Her smile didn't falter. "Ownership's irrelevant. The land is governed collectively now. Either you comply, or we seize it." Over the next few weeks, Delilah escalated her attacks. Marcus received cease and desist letters, $50,000 fines, and threatening phone calls. Someone even spray-painted, "Trespasser," across his porch. But Marcus wasn't just any handyman. His late father had been a land surveyor, and he'd taught Marcus everything about property rights, easements, and deed laws. For nights on end, Marcus pored over dusty county archives, tracing land grants and boundary plats dating back more than a century. Then he found it. Buried deep in a forgotten folder lay an 1872 federal homestead grant under the Timberland Preservation Act. It explicitly stated, "Greater than any residential structure erected before the year 1900 within the Eaglecrest boundaries shall remain exempt from all future zoning restrictions, collective governance, or seizure claims, in perpetuity." His cabin, built in 1895, was untouchable. Marcus smiled for the first time in weeks. Marcus decided not to reveal his discovery immediately. Instead, he played along, letting Delilah believe she was winning. When the HOA filed a lawsuit claiming illegal occupation, Marcus countered by filing an injunction, backed by federal documentation, freezing all HOA claims until an emergency hearing. Delilah arrived at court dressed like royalty, certain she'd crush him. She even whispered smugly, "Hope you enjoyed your little shack while it lasted." Then Marcus stood, holding up the original 1872 homestead grant. "Your Honor," he said, voice steady, "this document supersedes any and all HOA authority over my property." The judge adjusted his glasses, scanned the document, and frowned. "Mr. Kane is correct," he said firmly. "His cabin predates your association. The HOA has no jurisdiction here." Delilah's face drained of color. Marcus didn't stop there. During his research, he'd uncovered something else. Delilah's HOA had illegally acquired adjacent parcels using forged signatures. He quietly handed the evidence to county investigators. 2 weeks later, federal agents raided the HOA office. Delilah was charged with fraud, extortion, and forgery. Eaglecrest Development, desperate to avoid scandal, offered Marcus $12 million for the cabin. He declined. Instead, he leased the property to the developers under a 25-year contract worth nearly $500,000 annually, all while keeping ownership. The cabin that once cost him 25 cents now generated $500,000 a year, untouched by HOA clause. 6 months later, Marcus sat on his restored wraparound porch, coffee steaming in his hands. The mountains glowed beneath a golden sunrise. From his porch, he could see Delilah's former mansion across the valley, now abandoned and stripped by creditors. He smiled faintly. Sometimes, the universe doesn't just balance the scales, it tips them in your favor. And Marcus Kane, the plumber who once bet a quarter, was now a multimillionaire who owned the only cabin in Eaglecrest Ridge no one could ever touch.